everyone, and welcome to the Postmodern Art Podcast, the podcast dedicated to giving artists who are wowing the world over the platform they deserve. I am your host, Aiden Ragland, and for today's episode, you goons better straighten up. The boss has a few words for you. Today's guest is Bittles Bombardier, better known as Bittles The Boss, an artist, voice actress, and rubberhose VTuber with quite a bite on her, both figuratively and literally. Bittles is one of those good friendos that I see amongst the VTuber community, and especially with their awesome presentation, as well as the incredible art that they put out. Well, I knew I had to have her on the podcast at some point. I know I say that like every week, but like seriously, this is an episode that we've been trying to get done for a while, so I'm so glad we got the opportunity to sit down and chat. If you enjoyed today's conversation, make sure you support Bittles with the links down in the description below. If you enjoy the podcast, make sure you like, share, subscribe, or follow whatever audio streaming platform you prefer. Leave 5 stars wherever you can. You know I see that stuff, and you know it warms my heart. If you want to go a little further with that support, may I recommend checking out the merch shop at fourthwall.com. The link to that in the description below. If there was a better time to get some Pride merch, now would be the best time, as we have Pride merch year-round. It's not going down just because Pride Month is over, and all the profits I make from it will go to either Trans Lifeline or Lambda Literary, so please grab some of that Pride merch today. But now, without further ado, please enjoy the Postmodern Art Podcast. And the best part is your hands work, which is the best part.
Honestly, it's a huge part.
Yeah.
I talk with my hands. I kind of need them.
I do occasionally as well. I get where you're coming from.
It's the greatest advancement in technology that I found for VTubing, which is just, I can use my hands.
Yeah, exactly. Well, is there like, I've always been curious about that, because like I know there's like different tech when it comes to VTuber stuff. Like, is it like a controller or like a certain like little add-on like plug-in thing that you have or whatnot, or is it just like the program you're using is just that advanced that it knows when to recognize your hand?
So there are programs for that. I don't use that though.
Okay.
What I've got is a funny little, kind of just a little brick called a Leap motion controller.
Oh.
It just tracks my hands.
Okay. No, that's honestly really incredible.
It is right here on my desk, and it just looks at my hands.
That is actually really cool. Now, I like, because again, I've seen a good handful of VTubers having like, you know, hand tracking, some of them, especially when it comes to like VR chat or whatnot, seeing people with like the full motion, full body tracking or whatnot. And it's just like, I'm always amazed like exactly what it takes to get to that point, you know?
Right? Like, and especially like the tech that can be done with it, because like, it's no secret, I'm missing a finger.
Oh.
So the tracking doesn't work too good for me.
I did not realize you were missing a finger. Is that something that's common knowledge out there?
Oh, not physically. I just only have the 4 fingers.
Oh, I thought you were talking about like, oh yeah, I lost a finger when I was young, so the tracking thing has a tough time figuring out that. Now I realize you only have 4 fingers on each hand because of the way you draw your model.
Oh, that'd be great. Just IRL lore to just throw out there. Just, yeah, hey, I'm missing pinkies. They're just gone. I done put my hand in the wheat thresher as a kid. That was stupid, apparently.
I was going to say, you joke about that, but I had a teacher that lost like part of their index finger because of that, okay?
That's, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. One last thing, I have been recording this little like intro bit. It's mainly to like sync up my audio or whatnot. Is it cool if I can incorporate some of this as part of the podcast itself, like leading up to the beginning of it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure I at least want to get that consent before I just plaster that stuff on there.
That's very important, and that's very nice of you.
Of course.
At least I didn't say anything horrible.
Not yet.
What do you mean, not yet?
We still have a whole podcast to record. You never know what we're going to say.
Are you going to try to cancel me?
If nothing else, I'm going to try to cancel myself if anything like that happens. Oh, okay.
You sure?
At ease, soldier. At ease. Nothing, no funny business here. I promise. No funny business.
I'm a clown. Funny business is my entire thing, buddy.
Okay, then the good kind of funny business.
Fair enough.
Okay, Bittles, before we really get going, I must ask the icebreaker question of the podcast, if I may.
Of course, go right ahead.
Absolutely. Let's say you get to go to a desert island on your own accord. It's just you alone with your thoughts. You get to kick back, relax, breathe, get to truly enjoy yourself for a little bit. With accommodations, you're not stranded on an island. It's like a little personal B&B paradise away from society for a little bit. To help make sure you don't go completely insane on this island, you can bring one piece of media or one piece of art with you to help with whatever kind of headspace you want on this island. If given this opportunity, what would that one piece be?
I would bring a Garfield cartoon book.
Ooh.
Simply so it's faster for me to go insane.
No one has ever taken the question and spun it on its head like that. As finding a way to try to go completely into the depths of insanity with Garfield of all things.
Have you read Garfield?
I have read Garfield.
Do you think anyone who reads Garfield is sane?
I mean, Jim Davis is relatively normal. You know, the guy who created it, given all things considered.
No. No. You're just wrong.
How am I the wrong one here? He's still good and kicking last time I checked. I haven't had a conversation with him, so I can't, don't quote me on that, but...
Do you really equate being alive with living well? The guy's a nut job.
So the Garfield...
He's been drawing a cartoon cat for like 40 years, and you think that's healthy?
I mean, at least he's getting paid well to draw that cartoon cat.
Fair.
So yeah,
I'm not going to argue with the multi-millionaire who draws an orange cat.
Right?
He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's gotten up to this point. Who are we to complain, right? But regardless, I guess the Garfield comics to help drive you further into insanity. That is your answer.
Yes.
You're locking that in.
Swear on my heart, yes.
Then if that's the case, oddly enough, I cannot think of a better way to start the Postmodern Art Podcast. Welcome, everyone. I am your host, Nathan Ragland. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, or follow whatever audio streaming platform you prefer. You would look fantastic in the merch that we have at the merch shop. Go to fourthwall.com. Link to that will be in the description below. And follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, and TikTok at PostmodArtPod for future updates and guest announcements, including today's guest. She is an artist, voice actress, and rubberhose clown VTuber with quite a bite on her, both figuratively and literally. Welcome to the podcast, Bittles Bombardier, a.k.a. Bittles The Boss!
Welcome in, everybody. Hope you're having a marvelous day.
I'm having a fantastic day now that we're finally getting the opportunity to sit down and actually do this, because I know this is something I've been trying to get us to do for a while now, so thank you for taking time to do this.
Of course. I'm so sorry the boss has such a busy schedule, but I'm afraid I got a lot of things to do.
I mean, again, the good kind of funny business. I understand. There was no rush. Obviously, you had an open invitation, and we were ready whenever you were ready, so I'm glad now is the perfect time to do so.
Listen, it's a pleasure to be here.
Well,
Plus, you get a nice view into my dressing room.
Oh, you know what? I didn't ever even realize that. What kind of artwork do you have in the background? It looks fantastic.
Just a bunch of stuff I got made.
Oh, beautiful. Wonderful, gorgeous, stunning. Love it. I imagine, as well as getting that stuff made, the stuff you've been able to make for yourself is something that I couldn't help but absolutely love and admire. That's why I've been wanting you here for a while, and I'm glad we got the opportunity to do this. But...
Aw, sweet talker.
Hey, I'm just being the host. That's all I do. I'm just being honest. So, but before I really divulge the stuff you're doing nowadays, I want to go back just a little bit and learn more or less the origin story of Bittles, or maybe the person behind Bittles. We'll figure that out in a second. What got you interested in art in the first place, of any form?
So, when I was growing up, no surprise seeing what I do now. I grew up watching cartoons, especially the old stuff. I grew up watching Felix, Popeye, Betty Boop, which is weird because I'm a 90s kid.
Yeah,
So it's like, why the hell am I watching that? Listen, we afforded whatever we could get from the dollar store, and it happened to be Popeye VHS.
You say that like it's a bad thing, but I mean, like, especially those old classic cartoons or whatnot, like the Popeyes and the Felix and such. I mean, I grew up to where I also grew up a little bit being exposed to that. My aunt had some of like the old Popeye or like the old Disney Mickey Mouse stuff. So like
Mm.
I get that era of cartoons. They're a classic for a reason.
Oh, absolutely. It's such like a high standard. It's hard to beat.
Yeah,
So even
absolutely.
nowadays,
Especially
I
with
I
something like
watched some
nowadays.
Popeye recently. It is still funny.
I was gonna say if I remember correctly, so there weird tangent, but stick with me here. There's a
Of
podcast that
course.
I listen to called Behind the Bastards, where they basically take a look at some of like the worst people throughout history and basically dive into why they are the worst. And sometimes they'll bring on like like they'll talk about like certain cartoonists who have just like weird philosophies, like the person that did what's it called? Dilbert, like that had then the crazy guy that he was.
Scott Adams
Yes, exactly. And the crazy guy he was slash turned out to be. And they would
still is.
oh yeah, still is. Is he still alive? I thought he died not too long. No, anyways, I could be wrong on that. But whenever they do, they bring on I forget the guy's name. I feel bad for forgetting it, but they bring on a comic artist who is actually still working on the Popeyes to this day. Like they're still making like Popeye comics to this day.
Are they really?
Yeah,
I gotta look
really.
into those.
Yeah, absolutely. I again, I wish I remembered like the name of the artist, and if I go back I'll be sure to like tell you and probably plaster on the screen so people can go support them. I mean, there's like classic stuff like that. I've had a guest on here not too long ago named D Fish, who for a time was actually working for the Dick Tracy comics that they're still making.
Oh shit, that's impressive.
Yeah, so like that classic era that you're talking about, like the good old, I guess retro would be probably the proper word or whatnot. Like
Vintage.
vintage, even better. My bad, but like those vintage cartoons and vintage comics, like there's a reason why they're so beloved to this day.
Absolutely. I guess going back to your actual question, I grew up watching cartoons. It was that kind of stuff made me want to make my own stuff.
Okay,
It inspired me.
I was gonna say, what was it? And like, I know I kind of gushed a little bit about it, but for you in particular, what is it about those like vintage cartoons that made you, that kind of inspired you to really delve headfirst into that field?
So a big part of yeah, a big part of it is always like the creativity to it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you see stuff that's like, you can't do that in live action, or at least you couldn't when I was growing up.
Right.
CGI was not a thing. So you see things like Popeye punching someone into space. You can't do that.
No, you can't.
It it's the exaggeration, the hyperbole, the, everything. It's so fantastical, and I love that because I grew up in a boring as hell hick town where nothing exciting happened. So I wanted to at least have a bit of excitement, even if it was just drawn on paper.
I also relate to that because I grew up in a place to where, as I like to obviously joke about it, I went to a high school to where if you weren't in the FFA, the Future Farmers of America, you were one of the weird ones. I was one of the weird ones. So,
I get that though. I fully get that.
so obviously, like that was a good like spark more than anything else, or at least a thing that really drove you into it. When did it go from this kind of more or less general love and appreciation and kind of a passing thought of like wanting to be in it to a true passion and wanting to make it your career in one way or another?
Honestly, it was probably about 5 years ago, if I'm being fully honest.
Oh, really? Okay.
I've been drawing my entire life since I was like 3.
Okay.
But I never really did much with it. I made characters, I did like short comics, whatever. It wasn't until like 5 years ago that I was like, you know what? I haven't actually done anything with my life. Why don't I try this? Why don't I actually take a step into like character design or voice acting or anything? And apparently people like what I do.
I mean, that's part of the reason why you're here more than anything else.
Well, that and my toony style is all the rage.
It really is, and we'll definitely delve into that and then some in a bit. But I mean, like, I, I'm, I'm. It makes me kind of curious, and if you don't want to delve down this road or whatnot, but like, I'm surprised that it took you until like 5 years ago to really go all in with this kind of thing. So like, what was like what was more or less like the gap like itself? Like, I know you said you kind of were always drawing or whatnot, but was it like a ever like a passing interest in that kind of stuff? Was it kind of like exploring and then kind of a self doubt of like, there's no way I could really do this? Like, what I hate to put it bluntly like this, but what took you to waiting until 5 years ago to really go into this?
Well, without going too much into it, I started my transition.
Okay.
It was when I finally decided to be myself and be happy that I decided to finally try stuff. I grew up always being made fun of for having a very cartoony voice.
Okay.
And for a long time, I kind of just hid it. I can still kind of turn off my accent now, but a lot of people find it really weird when I do. So they prefer I speak in the more cartoony accent nowadays. And I guess just like a couple of years ago, I finally decided I'm tired of just not being me. I'm tired of not being my cartoony self that everyone kept making fun of me for. So why don't I actually try and be a cartoon character?
Well,
and now look at me.
You're a cartoon character and then some. I'll tell you that much, Tom.
Right?
Like it's honestly really cool to hear that, like, you know, it got to you like transitioning, like you were saying, really getting to that point of being like, yeah, I'm tired of being what everyone else thinks I should be. Let me just be me. Let me just truly be the person I've always wanted to be.
Exactly. I won't go into too many details. It's not exactly a fun story. I'm an extrovert that was raised as an introvert. So I'm doing a lot of learning about how to be a person lately.
You know what? It's
which is not fun.
I mean, to be fair, like you said, you kind of grew up in that kind of like small town more than anything else. Not a whole lot of extroverts really in those places, so.
And if you weren't into sports, you got hit.
Yep. Yes, indeed.
Yep.
Or like I said, if you weren't in the Future Farmers of America, well, here you are.
Right. It's a wonderful feeling, isn't it? To be an outcast when everyone around you just is happy to play in the dirt.
It's a unique feeling, to say the least. But I mean, like, I imagine part of the way you were able to express yourself beforehand, and especially nowadays, is like I kind of illustrated as well, the art you've been more or less been able to introduce yourself with. I mean, obviously I could tell that the classic vintage rubber hose style was kind of the style you latched onto or whatnot. But what was it about that style that makes you feel like, what is it about that style in particular that like is your main art focus? Like, why is the rubber hose style more or less like your main thing?
Sure. So a lot of it comes down to what I grew up with. Mm-hmm. Like I mentioned, I grew up with Felix the Cat, Popeye, Betty Boop. Those were the things that influenced what I was drawing when I first started out. And it's always just kind of been a part of my style forever, really. It wasn't until probably about 3 years ago that I fully leaned into it.
Okay.
Because I've always had this like horrible mental thing where it's like, I can draw realism, I can draw toony. My style was somewhere in the middle. So I decided I'm just going to lean hard into toony. Because I wasn't happy being in the middle because it's like, well, I don't know what I'm doing.
Okay. Right. It's kind of that mentality of being like in a way, the jack of all trades, but the master of none in a way. Like, you know, having that kind of...
Exactly.
You know, it's cool. It's cool that you can do all this kind of stuff, but like, you know, unless you're really happy with like leaning one way or the other, there's no real satisfaction with your own art, I guess.
Exactly. I could do whatever I want. I could do whatever gets me paid. I want to do what makes me happy. And what makes me happy is stuff like this.
Exactly. I mean, to be fair, again, we kind of illustrated this with talking about, you know, those classic shows or whatnot, but like the rubber hose style is just fun. It is just a lot of fun being, you know, silly and goofy and just all sorts of zany and wacky with that art style.
Exactly. It's funny. People are like, oh, rubber hose is easy. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
There are so many like rules you have to follow. There's a certain flow to things you have to do. Even small things like the eyes. There's so many small things you can do with them to make them work. And sometimes people go into it and just ignore it. And, you know, limitations. My eyes technically don't work properly. They shouldn't work how rubber hose eyes work.
Really?
But, yeah. So a fun thing. You know, like the classic Pac-Man eyes. Everybody probably knows what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. The triangles in the eyes point where they're looking.
Okay.
So if a character is looking to the left, the triangles will point to the left. If they're looking to the right, they'll point to the right. It's why a lot of times whenever you have like a forward-facing toon like me, you have the triangles pointing towards each other. That's how that would work, because you can't really have front-facing triangles. But a lot of people ignore this rule. And to be fair, it's a loose rule. Yeah. Do whatever you want.
If it looks good, if it makes you happy, screw it. Go with that.
Exactly. But it's this sort of thing of like people come into this thinking, oh, it's super easy because they see things like Bendy and the Ink Machine or something. And it's like, no, it's actually, there's a lot of like shape theory, flow theory, color theory is a big one. I spent so much time choosing my colors, ironically.
Yeah. I would say it's very ironic. So in fact, it's different shades of gray, but those shades of gray really do make the image pop out,
Exactly. Like, there's so much that goes into this. It's hard to work in grayscale.
I would say, plus, to be fair, not everyone can exactly look good in black and white. For example, little editing thing I'm gonna do right here, to where all of a sudden I'm gonna be black and white.
Fair. Okay. I thought you wanted me to do something, and It's like, I don't know what powers you think I have. I'm just a cartoon clown.
Well, are cartoon clowns supposed to be able to do just about anything as long as they don't look down, or is that a different theory I'm thinking of?
That's something else, unfortunately.
Fair enough. Anyways, let's get back to the color on my end. And yes, I'm going to leave all of that awkwardness in just for the fun of it. But no, it's really incredible. Obviously, because what you're talking about, especially when it comes to the different shades of gray, like the grayscale or whatnot, you could be just like one tone of black, one tone of white, but you're not gonna get any of the definitive shapes that you have with your thing. Your hat might not be able to be distinguished. Your dress, I mean, how are we gonna realize the different details on it more than anything else?
Right. I could go black and white. In fact, teaser for my model update, I might be having a fully black and white thing. But it helps to have at least one more color. And that's just a general thing for cartoons in general. Never have more than 4 colors.
Never have more than 4 colors. Okay.
Yeah, think about some of the best cartoons in history. Like Homer Simpson is the best example I always come up with. It's white, yellow, blue.
And maybe gray for the beard or whatnot. That's about it.
Yeah, like a brown for the face, whatever. It's like 4 or 5 colors. Same with SpongeBob. It's yellow, brown, white, I think red for the tie. Yeah. It's not a lot of colors.
That's fair. It's honestly, I'm learning something new every day. I'll put it like that. Because it's something that I don't really think about, but the way you describe it is you know what? That makes a lot of sense. You don't want, if nothing else, you don't want to overstimulate your audience with having a rainbow of colors for a main character. Exactly.
From an animation standpoint, you never want more than 5, which 5. There we go.
There's that random lost pinky coming into effect, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that more or less the kind of exploring this rubber hose styles led you to some really fun designs at the end of the day. I know as I was doing my research, seeing some of the different characters you've been able to develop with this rubber hose style, I imagine it's a lot of fun for you to be able to develop some unique characters and really bring forth a fun personality with the simple whites, blacks, and grays.
It's a challenge. It is so fun to do rubber hose, which is why I do it so much. And it works so well. There's so much you can do with it. Because people will, you say rubber hose, and you probably think of something like me, where it's just big hands and these scrawny arms. You can do so much.
Oh, yeah.
I just prefer this.
I was gonna say, I mean, look at the classic cartoons like a Betty Boop, for example. It's not like Betty Boop had giant hands to go with her slim figure or anything like that.
She's very shapely. It works. Popeye with his weird grotesque forearms. When people think rubber hose, they tend to think of old Mickey Mouse, Steamboat Willie kind of stuff. And it's a kind of oval body with just noodle limbs, but you can do way more with it.
Absolutely. I imagine, especially for you, the way you've been able to implement it with some of your own art or whatnot, it's got to be at least fun. I'm curious at the very least with some of the pieces you've been able to produce for yourself, the ones that you're happy with. Is there a particular one that is your favorite, the one that you're happiest with how you were able to execute it, like whatever vision you had in mind?
Yes, I want to say yes.
Okay.
I can either bring it up or send it to you. I'd have to look at my stuff because off the top of my head, I cannot recall it. But I absolutely know there's some stuff I've done.
I mean, if
Let
nothing
me
else,
see
I'll
here.
say, I mean, if nothing else, you send it to me, I'll be more than happy to flash it up on the screen right here.
Oh, absolutely. Like there's what I've done today. I probably can't bring this one up though.
Oh, you know what? Valid, understandable. We'll save that for the when Adam and Eve sponsors the podcast.
Oh, it's not like that.
Oh, it's not like
I'm
that.
safe for work. I'm a safe for work soon.
Sorry, sorry, it's Bianca
I
that's
do
like that.
suggestive. Yeah, my little sis, sweetheart that she is. You know what? I think I could show this. Sorry if I can't.
I'll tell you
Just
what.
edit it out.
I was gonna say I'll look at it and I'll be the judge of it.
Oh, so I shouldn't just bring it up on my thing. Okay.
I mean, you can either you can bring it up on your thing or you can just send it in the Discord chat, whichever one's more convenient for you.
I'll send it into Discord just so you don't have to worry. What do you think?
Oh no, I'm absolutely gonna put this on the screen. Are you kidding me? This is great.
Okay, go ahead. Good.
That is a great one right there.
I understand what I work with.
Yeah, you know what? Fair enough. you
I
have.
understand what I've got.
I would say you have your assets. You're using it to its fullest potential.
Exactly.
I mean to be fair, I mean let's get to obviously the main thing that I really wanted to talk about a lot. Talking about the assets in general. The way you've been able to present yourself as this incredible Bittles the clown. I mean Bittles the boss. My bad.
Thank you.
You are very welcome. I'm curious with how Bittles the character came to be. How did you develop this fun little VTuber or this rubberhose clown boss mob boss? How did you develop this?
Sure. So I get this a lot. It's actually there's a history to it.
Okay.
I've talked about it before on other things. Real life, I was a clown for a few
wow.
years.
Okay.
My stage name was Bittles. Well, it was Itty Bitty, but then I shortened it to Bitty, and then I lengthened it to Bittles because that sounded more clowny.
It's interesting.
Right? A lot of people are surprised when they find out I was a clown.
I mean, to be fair, ironically enough, it's not the first time I've heard about an online personality being a clown before they became an online personality. But at the same time, the fact that you've just gone fully embracing the clown persona in a way, I mean, it makes sense.
I've been obsessed with clowns since I was a little girl. It's never gonna stop.
All right, fair enough. And so, obviously, did you basically just kind of took what was you at the time, Bittles the clown, and just basically rubber hosed it, like morph it into this fun little, cartoon clown gal that we see before us today?
So kind of not actually.
Okay.
So Bittles, the clown I played, was like, that would have been like a long time ago. Actually, thinking about it, more than like 15 years.
Oh wow. Okay.
Right. And I've had a lot of like online names. There was April Fulowski. There was Lollipop Kerboom. Lollipox. I've had a lot of different names.
Okay.
But Bittles kept coming back. And I eventually, like, VTubing started to become a thing. And I was like, I kind of want to get into that. What would my name be? What could I do? I was an entertainer once. Why don't I just use my old stage name?
Okay.
So I chose Bittles, and then I thought, what's not being done? VTubing's kind of a newish thing when I started, at least.
Mm-hmm.
What's not being done? And I looked around and was like, this is all anime. This is all very modern anime. What if I did the opposite? What if I decided to not follow in the footsteps of all the people who have been doing this before me and just decided to go completely vintage cartoon instead of modern anime. And it's kind of just how I started working on my design.
I mean, nothing else. That's always a good mentality that I love when it comes to the indie VTuber scene more than anything else. Like they see the big names like the VGens and the VSojos or whatnot, and like no disrespect to them, obviously they got there for a reason. But at the same time, like the creativity that the more independent people go on and the different personas that they personify at the end of the day, it's always fun to see like what's being presented out there.
Absolutely. Like, the indie people are some of the best I've ever seen. Like you said, no disrespect to the big people. They got where they are doing hard work and all that. I love the indies way more than the big guys.
Oh, absolutely. I was gonna. Well, it also leads me to kind of a different question. Like, how did you first discover VTubing? Like, what made you? How did you learn about it, and what like drove you into that world? What made you want to be a part of it?
So I want to say, like, it would have been like 2019. This was like just before COVID started,
Okay.
which, callback. I want to say it was probably like Nyanners, whoever their name was, the little white cat girl.
Right.
I don't watch them anymore. And I saw them doing this, and it's like, that's a fun way to get into streaming, where you don't have to show your face. I don't really like how I look. I've got a voice for television. So I decided I could try this.
I've always heard the phrases, I've got a face for radio. That's what I've been told, at least beforehand.
I think you've got a wonderful voice.
Well, no. The voice is one thing. The face is a different thing.
Listen, I've got the face and the voice for radio.
But regardless, yeah, back to the story.
So I saw these people just streaming without having to show their faces, and they were getting people watching them. Mm-hmm. They were getting an audience. They were being entertainers while playing a character. And that just spoke to me so much. Because it's like, I could do this. I could have fun pretending to be something I'm not. Fourth wall break. I'm not really a cartoon clown in the real world, but hey, here, I'm the boss.
You are the boss.
Right? But still, your beating heart. Like, that's what the fun of VTubing is to me. You get to be anyone you want. You can be anything you want.
Yes, absolutely. Especially seeing what some of the people have been able to do out there, being literally anything that they want. I mean, like I said, we got the vintage rubber hose clown girl right here. We've got Eldritch grandpas. We have cephalopods that are also psychiatrists. Pirates. Capybaras, dinosaurs, nebula clouds. I could go on for ages. I mean,
right.
I mean, just look at the people I've been able to bring on this podcast alone. There are VTubers like otters, armadillos, raccoons from the 1940s or whatnot, poison dart frogs. Lions, tigers, and bears. Oh my!
Exactly. The possibilities are limitless, and that's why I was so drawn to VTubing. It's kind of like cartoons. This is an interactive cartoon.
I mean, you've been able to really interact with how you've been able to present yourself with this obviously fun, like I said before, cartoon clown gal that we see before us today, the boss more than anything else. So I have to obviously ask, from a host to a boss, what does it mean for you to be the boss?
That's a fair question. I actually get that a lot.
Okay.
So, to be the boss is to be respected. Mm-hmm. Respect means the world to me. Respect means that people care. Respect means that they listen. Respect means that they understand that what you're saying is important and it should be listened to. That's what it means to be the boss. Because it would be very easy for me to just sit here and just not say anything, or just be a cute little wallflower, or just be this ooh-woo cutesy little thing. That's not me. I couldn't be those things. I don't want to be those things. I want to be larger than life. I want to be the star of the party. I want to be the screen name on the big screen. I want to be remembered. And that's why I'm the boss.
I mean, if I do say so myself, I think you take that boss persona very close to heart. You really do embrace and really put forth what it means to be the boss.
I appreciate that.
And it's not because you could potentially be aiming a gun at me and my life could end in a moment. No, I am being genuine with that. Ha 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 ha.
Mm-hmm.
No, in all seriousness, no, I am being genuine when I say like you really, you really do put forth like an amazing persona when it comes to being the boss. Like the fun I've been able to see you have on these streams and like the way you've been able to like really take this persona and really go full force with it into this world and be unapologetically amazing at the end of the day. Like that's part of the reason why I wanted to make sure I have you on this podcast, because I just love what you have been able to present basically since day one with Bittles.
Oh, you're such a sweet talker, you know that?
I get
Absolute
I'm just
doll.
being honest. That is all I try to do on this podcast.
I understand that. And I do appreciate that. Outside of VTubing, respect is a huge, important thing to me. Mm-hmm. And that's why I try to make sure that, like, when I do this kind of stuff, people respect me. I don't care if people look down on me. I don't care if they think I'm going to fail. I care that they respect me. Because I went into this with a lot of people disrespecting me. Mm-hmm. When I started, there were so many people that told me that I was going to fail. Because why would anybody watch a rubberhose VTuber? VTubing's all about anime. You can't do this. This is stupid. Why bother? And now look at me. I worked my way up from nothing to where I am now. I worked tooth and nail to get where I am. I have earned everything that I have. And people respect me for that.
And they should.
I have earned the title of boss.
Absolutely. I mean, if nothing else, like seeing the journey be able to go along with VTubing and like once again the way you've been able to present yourself. If people don't respect it, that's on them. That they I don't know why they wouldn't respect it.
Right?
I mean,
I value hard work. Mm-hmm. There are so many people I look up to that I respect. I respect you.
Well, thank you.
I respect so many people that I've seen grow. There are some people who started after me that have surpassed me. And yeah, sometimes I'm jealous, but I also respect them. I respect what they did.
Absolutely. I mean, like, I mean, regardless, like, what you've been able to present with Bittles, like, if the others that you respect, if they don't respect you back, like that's on them, because I obviously being on this podcast, I give you a lot of love and respect for what you're able to do and how you've been able to present yourself. I mean, if nothing else, I think part of the appeal is not just the fact that you are a vintage cartoon, rubber hose model or whatnot, but like you make it look good. I'm sorry to say it, but like your model, I cannot get enough of it. Like the fine little details, like the interaction with the hands, the teeth that I'm pretty sure could like murder anyone within a 5-mile radius, if I'm lucky. Like,
oh, fun fact, there's getting an update to this model that makes it even toonier.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I'm almost scared to see how it could get toonier, because it's already pretty toony as is.
You want a sneak peek?
For my audience eyes, I don't see why not, if you're willing.
Of course. It'll be a sneak peek. This won't be seen for like another month, but if people, watch this, they're going to have a fun time.
To be fair, I will say this episode isn't expected to come out until I think June 21st, so yeah, we got some time.
Marvelous. So, as you can see, there's been a few changes.
Okay.
So the biggest and probably one of my favorite ones is my arms.
Oh yeah, I'm noticing that.
Right? Oh, this is such a nice upgrade, isn't it? I get my nice bendy arms. I get a nice outline so I actually look the part. I've got jiggle physics. It's a whole deal. And I'm so excited to actually get to show this off soon.
Oh, I cannot wait for you, dude. I mean, obviously the people that are gonna be watching are gonna absolutely. I was gonna say I love the hat jiggle. That is my favorite
Right?
little jiggle physic that you're doing right there.
It's the best little thing. I'm so excited to show that off. It's the stupidest thing they put on. There's no reason it needs to be like that.
I mean, even then,
Like,
yeah. I was gonna say like just seeing this little like the nice the little details. That's what I love about like just your model, whether it's the previous one or this one. The little details that you have with like your models or whatnot, absolutely amazing. Like it's a great little like almost rewarding the people that actually pay attention.
Oh, you're such a sweet talker, though. It's nothing special.
I'm just again, as me being the host, I like to be honest with my guests, and you know, which like your model is a really cool model. That's all I want to get at the end of the day.
Oh no, you're so sweet to me.
I just simply try. But I mean, regardless, like I imagine it's been really cool, really delving into doing all this cool VTubing stuff more than anything else. I imagine it's probably led to some incredible opportunities at the end of the day. Like, what has been some of your like, what has been the experience like ever since you've really gone all in, as the boss, as Bittles, as a VTuber?
There's been a lot because sorry, just swapping back to this for a bit.
No, yeah, do what you need to do.
Um, there's been a lot. It's kind of surprising if I'm being honest. Okay. Like, I don't want this. It blocks my face. It's I've met so many incredible people. I think when I started this out, there was one person I knew. Still know them. They're an absolute sweetheart. But when I started out, no one wanted to interact with me. I was the freak. I was the outcast. I was the weirdo. No one wanted to deal with this. And then I started, actually doing it, and I ran into so many amazing people. Mm-hmm. You mentioned them already. The Eldritch Grandpa, Samuel, absolute sweetheart.
Absolutely.
People like, you've actually had them on your show before, Baphomet. Yeah. Absolute doll.
Baphomet the Clown, that's right. I forgot about talking about them.
Are you a fan of their work?
Oh, I'm an absolute fan of their work. That's why I brought them on the podcast. I'm pretty sure
You recognize the background then?
Oh, wait, did they draw that background?
They did.
Oh my goodness, that is incredible to hear. I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure we brought you up in their episode, if I remember correctly. So like, yeah, it's a good.
Oh shit! Seriously?
Yeah. So in a way, this is a nice little full circle moment right here.
And no, they did my background because I was struggling to do it myself. And I was like, Baph, I adore your style. Why don't you just do this for me? And she did.
Hey, they nailed it.
Oh, they absolutely did. It's absolutely amazing. It's led to so many opportunities. Just meeting people has been like the biggest thing. I've met like people like you. I've met Loot, Pinch, just so many people. I couldn't even name them all. And it's just been such a fun time.
I mean, I can only imagine like how much of a fun time it has been. It kind of leads me to wonder, like, at least when it comes to the VTubing aspect, is there a particular stream or a particular moment that is your favorite, whether it was absolutely silly and ridiculous or it was like genuinely an incredible moment?
I think it's going to sound narcissistic because it's one of my things. It was last year I was celebrating... I think it was like 500 followers or 1 year of streaming, whatever. And I promised my followers that I would mod Skyrim and go hunt whales in the ocean. I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm going to say this here. I don't like whales.
Oh, wow.
I am terrified of whales.
Okay.
So I get to the ocean. You can't see anything. Skyrim's oceans are stupid dark, and I couldn't find a mod to make them crystal clear. Right. So I go out into the water. I'm on an iceberg. I quick save. And I jump down. There's nothing. Another 5 seconds go by. There's nothing. Another 5 seconds go by. A tail swooshes by my face. I scream and rocket to the surface of the water. I was screaming the whole time. I had co-hosts on, and they were trying to calm me down because I was yelling. I can send you the clip after the stream. It's horrible. It's also my old model, so that'll be weird for people to see.
I mean,
I looked very different a year ago.
oh, I can only imagine. I think a lot of people look probably different a year ago if they really look.
I mean, I could show.
I was gonna say, hey, feel free to. I was gonna say, yep. That's right. I remember this classic model. I remember this.
It's the old one.
You want to?
The hands were so small.
I'll say you want to talk about vintage. This is vintage. Vintage Bittles.
Right? God, it's weird looking at the hands. They were so tiny.
Yeah,
The cigar was so tiny. Everything got bigger, even my ass.
I was gonna say, I think bigger is better in this situation.
Right? God, it's so weird. I haven't used this in forever. The hands are so tiny.
It must be like kind of surreal being like, oh god, this is where I came from, huh?
It's weird. Like, I used this for like a year, and I still adore this design.
Right.
I had to drop it though, because I got way too many comments of people saying, "Oh my god, are you a bendy OC?"
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I'm not. Unless my model breaks like this, I hate this.
Oh, wow.
This is why I don't use this anymore.
Oh goodness.
It's great, right?
I mean, I've heard of long lashes, but that's not what I had in mind. Oh goodness!
It's so much.
That is a trip more than anything else. Good lord! Yeah, like I said,
it's crazy.
Yeah. Bigger is definitely better in this situation. Goodness, but I mean, like, regardless, like, I first off, I'm not saying let me put it like this. I respect the fear of whales more than anything else. I can understand where you're coming from on that one. I mean, just because they look majestic,
they're scary.
They look majestic from a distance, but that's the key word, from a distance.
Exactly.
So
go out on a boat, you see a blue whale swim by. It's like, oh, that's cool. But then you're in the water with it.
Yeah.
No. No. I don't want to deal with that giant fish. I think it's scary and I hate it.
Well, there you go. We respect nature. Let's leave nature with nature.
Nuke the whales.
Okay, maybe not that far. I understand your personal, emotions and feelings toward the situation, but I don't think we can just openly say nuke the whales. Hatred, fair enough. But regardless, like, I imagine it's been like really cool to go along this path or whatnot, and I can only imagine, especially with being out there a little bit more and really getting your voice out there a little bit, it's kind of led to some other opportunities when it comes to voice acting as well. I'm curious, like, at what point did you decide to also, because I didn't even realize doing my research or whatnot until I actually did it, that you were actually a voice actress as well. At what point did you decide that you wanted to go down the voice acting route? Like, what made you want to venture into that?
Surprisingly, it was actually a bunch of my friends kept telling me, it's like, hey, you got a cartoony voice. Why don't you do something with it? And I realized, like, man, they're right. I have acting training. Why don't I make an attempt at voice acting? So I started doing it, and I technically haven't done anything yet.
Okay.
But I do have some stuff lined up.
Oh, you tease. I'd say tell, but that could also break NDAs and stuff like that. And let's not do that today.
I can give a teaser.
Ooh, can you now?
Something that I'm going to be working on has been seen in Times Square.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
That leads me to wonder, because I know exactly what you're talking about, kind of the indie,
right?
The indie animation day, like the previous one, I guess it was, to where like some one group or whatnot was able to buy basically time slots in Times Square. So now I'm curious, 'cause I'm trying to think back of the projects in that one that were showcased or whatnot. But I'll leave that for my viewers and myself to wonder and figure out what's going on.
Fair enough.
I mean, to be fair, I guess you and I are also in kind of the same boat when it comes to that. Like, I'm a person that, is also trying to get into voice acting. I've had a couple of cool opportunities here and there, and I'm still trying to get
Mhm.
some more or whatnot. But I mean, trust me, like in our conversation alone, I'm surprised you haven't done the voice acting sooner because you really like, I agree with the others. You definitely got a cartoony voice.
Well, it's funny. Like I've got one role I'm doing. Again, I can't exactly say.
Right.
Where it's a very childish voice,
Okay.
and then I've got another which I'm looking forward to that's coming up soon, where I just do this very like seductive voice, and it's very different than what people expect from me, which is just the greatest thing ever.
Okay. Okay. No, I can only imagine, like, especially with what you could potentially be teasing with any of those roles or whatnot. Like, it it's gotta be really cool to just be you at this point, in a way. Like,
That's something I've come to terms with. I Not to like bring it all down. I've dealt with depression for the last few years. I've recently started medication for it,
okay.
and it's kind of opened my eyes to realize, like, man, I got a pretty good life.
Yeah. I was gonna
I've got a bunch of great friends, a bunch of great opportunities. This is a great opportunity,
I appreciate
and it's been just such an eye opener to realize, man, I actually got a pretty good life.
And if I may ask, I'm also, thinking like with all the stuff you've been kind of more or less talking about, all these different opportunities or whatnot. I imagine it's gotta be like affirming more than anything else the fact that you've been able to present yourself like this and have these cool opportunities, especially as someone that is transitioning as well. Like the fact you're able to present yourself a certain way to be like the you that is happiest. I imagine it has to help a lot.
Oh, absolutely. It's I don't quite look like other trans girl VTubers. I don't have quite the ample assets that their models tend to have. But it's amazing that a lot of people don't even know that I'm trans.
Right?
Like, people hear my voice and just kind of assume I'm cisgender a lot of the time. And it's a nice feeling. I've done masculine and feminine roles before, but like most of the stuff I get now is fem roles, and it's a nice feeling.
Like you said, it's kind of affirming, or kind of like what I said earlier. It's got to be like a cool gender affirming experience to know that like people can easily just mistake you as well. I wouldn't say, but people recognize that mistake you as cisgender. I guess is the way I should word that.
Exactly.
There you go. I mean, I can only imagine with all the stuff we've been more or less like talking about, whether it be just like the just in general, this weird and unique art journey that you've been on, ever since you started falling in love with, the classic vintage cartoons back in the day, kind of just, having that drawing with you to really now where you've kind of more or less in the past 5 years really taken the opportunity to do what's made you happy and it's led to some cool opportunities. Like, this has got to be a really unique art journey for you. Like, are you more or less amazed how far you've been able to develop as an artist?
Yes, as an artist, as a creator, these last few years have been just kind of an eye opener of just, I can do this. And I think anyone can do whatever they set their mind out to do. Because I was very much the kind of person that would just sit down and be like, I'm going to draw pictures. And that's it. That's the end of the story.
Yeah.
There was nothing like, I'm going to make a story. I'm not going to I'm not going to make a story. I'm not going to make comics. I'm just going to draw with no goal, no intentions, no nothing. And now I'm at a point in my life, I could if I wanted to.
Yeah.
I've got the talent to do it. I've got the audience that wants to see it. I've got friends who can help me. I've got great animators, artists, people like you, everyone to help like market it. Things have improved, and they can improve for anyone.
It makes me more or less curious because I know something you had mentioned whenever you were first getting into like the vintage cartoons or whatnot is thinking to yourself that that's something you'd want to do. Ever since you've really gone all in with these kind of different, art fields in one way or another, have you ever debated on potentially making your own like animated property, like an indie animated project, like trying to make that a reality based on like those vintage cartoons?
Sort of. Here's the thing. I'm not an animator.
Right.
Um, I am an artist. I'm a character designer. I I could barely do a GIF animation. Like I got some stuff that's maybe like 10 frames at most, and I hate doing animation. That's why I hire people.
That's valid, honestly. That's fair enough.
I've done animation. I've been in animation classes. I prefer the behind the scenes stuff. I'll do the marketing. I'll do the voice work. I'll do everything else. Just please don't make me do the animation. But maybe I have been working on a story for the last few years, but it's been on hold as I focus on streaming stuff.
Okay. Okay. Well, with that in mind, maybe with this next question, you might be able to explore it more, depending on if it's something you want to go further with. And Bittles, if I may, for this next question, let me give you more or less the dream scenario, if I may.
Of course.
Let's say I am Big Shot Mr. Moneybags. You met him recently. You did a fun little drawing of the little guy. I know you did a fantastic job with that as well.
After a few months, yes.
Look, I'm a very patient person, as you can tell. But regardless, let's say Big Shot Mr. Moneybags, he comes up to you and he's like, look, Bittles, we know you could do some incredible stuff. We've been seeing the stuff you've been able to have a hand in, or the stuff you've been more or less been able to develop for yourself. We know there's gold there. You just need that little extra, push, a little extra platform to get you to that point. We have access to everyone and anyone in whatever industry possible, and more money than should be possible. We really should be compensating those animators, because the fact that strike is coming up really, really, really soon. We'll focus on them in a little bit.
It's not a big deal.
Right now, we're focusing on you and you alone. If given this opportunity, what would be the dream Bittles the Boss project?
Truth be told, just because it would fit, I would love to get a Bittles cartoon.
Okay.
Like, I have actually talked to a few of my animator friends to get some shorts made of Bittles. But shorts cost money.
Yes,
but in this hypothetical, money isn't an option.
Yay.
So I feel like I would love to do some of those like old Tom and Jerry, Mickey Mouse-esque things where it's just individual adventures of just me, Bittles, going on just crime sprees, just going against the cops, going against other criminals, just slapstick humor.
I think that could be.
That would be my dream.
I think that would be really well done, especially with obviously the boss persona, with how confident you can be in yourself. Just seeing some of the silly and wacky adventures, maybe being a little too confident in yourself in certain situations.
Yeah. Listen, when you've got something like this, confidence is allowed.
I mean, that's valid. I'm not discrediting you. I'm not discrediting you. Thank you.
Smart.
But sadly, we gotta get down from the dream scenario. We gotta get back to reality, and I'll ask the ever so unfortunate question. Not unfortunate. I'll ask this question. I'll just put it like that. I don't know. I'm having a brain fart tonight. But I will ask this question. Where do you hope to see yourself in, say, 5 to 10 years from now?
Oh, that's a hard one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ideally, I'd love to still be streaming. I honestly don't know if VTubing is going to be a thing in 5 to 10 years. But if it is, I'd love to still be here doing it. I love streaming. I love entertaining. If this isn't a thing anymore, I'd love to be working in the animation industry.
Okay.
Either character designer, voice actor, maybe even both. Some people do both.
Yeah.
I'd like to be anywhere than where I am. That's not quite the optimistic or maybe the happiest answer, but yeah, I'd like to be somewhere where I'm not.
You say it may not be the optimistic answer, but we've kind of illustrated throughout this podcast that, like, at least right now where you are your happiest, but there's always room to improve. So I can imagine kind of being elsewhere and maybe trying a new adventure and, seeing where that may take you. Who knows what could happen from there. And I will say, when it comes to the VTubing aspect, I feel like it's not going to be gone in 5 to 10 years, especially if there's still people that are camera shy, to put it politely, either camera shy or as creative as they can be. I feel like VTubing is going to be a thing that lasts a while.
Absolutely. I'm sure it'll be around for a long time. I'm just not sure if it'll be popular. It's kind of like the idea of like Let's Plays. Let's Plays were big like 10 years ago.
Right.
Not that big anymore. People like just long form content nowadays. They don't want really a cut up episode anymore.
I mean, I I can't really speak too much because here I am presenting a long form content to an audience.
This is different though. This is good.
Oh, now you're the one. Now you're the one being the flattering one here. Okay.
Of course.
As we start to wind down the interview, I just have one last question I want to ask you, Bittles. Obviously, you're deeply interested in art. I mean, you basically are art, looking at the obviously vintage clown gal that I'm seeing before me. How important is art, not just for you, but for the world as a whole?
I would argue art is one of the most important things, honestly. Art is expression. Art is emotion. Art is idea made, not quite physical, but you know what I mean. It is an idea made visual. And sometimes it's not even visual. You have music. Music is art. Mm-hmm. You have art that is touching people in ways they might never have imagined. Done things with it that people miss, that they don't get anymore, that nobody else is doing. It is one of the most important things because it lets us have our ideas and put them out there. Because there is no original idea, unfortunately, but those unoriginal ideas help us find people who are like us. I have found so many people who are into rubberhose animation because of what I do. We've become friends. We've shared stuff. We've learned how to draw stuff from each other. I have found communities of people through art, whether it's VTubing as an art, literal digital art, music, whatever. I have found people like me through art. And I think that's why it's important.
I think that is wonderfully worded, if I do say so myself.
Off the top of my head, not bad.
Perfect. Most of the guests usually are. I will, but hey, that doesn't discredit you. Like I said, it's still wonderfully worded at the end of the day. But Bittles, that's all the questions that I have for you. I've already showered you with a whole bunch of praise, but I'm going to shower you with a little bit more because of my podcast. I do whatever I want.
Go ahead.
I figured you wouldn't be complaining about it.
I'm not going to stop you.
Bittles, like I have been gushing about, like, for this entire time, ever since I first became aware of you. Oddly enough, I didn't mention this sooner, but I first became aware of you thanks to Pinch Raccoon whenever you appeared on OST.
I bumbled my way through that game show.
I will say you had arguably one of the best moments of that entire that episode or whatnot, with like the Pokemon thing or whatnot. It's like, pick a color. I don't know it, or pick a version. I don't know it. They're colors, but the part that no one ever complains, never introduces, is the part where you just go, "I'm colorblind."
Yeah, small detail. I am actually colorblind.
Right, which is another little interesting little wrinkle when it comes to all this cool stuff that you've been able to present. I mean, going back to what I was getting at, ever since I first became aware of you and like of you, what you're able to present, I've always been amazed with what you've been able to present. Your art is absolutely fantastic, and I can't get enough of it. Like I said a million times before, your model is one of those rare and unique ones that I cannot get enough of. All the way down to the little details about it. The fact that you're really going forth and really doing some incredible stuff, especially getting the chance to sit down and talk with you, get to hear your story and seeing not only the cool opportunities you're making for yourself, but how happy you are with yourself more than ever before. It makes me have a new level of love and appreciation for what you're doing. And that was already very high for me. Don't mistake it. Like I had a lot of respect for what you're doing, and it makes me excited to see what you're going to be doing next, obviously. I mean, you've already kind of teased some of it, but I mean, that's just in the short term. Lord knows what you're able to accomplish in the long term future. And it makes me excited. It makes me curious. It makes me hopeful at the end of the day, because I know if you keep up the love and respect that you have for yourself and keep up this incredible happiness, I know you're going to go far, because you're already doing so much right now, and I cannot wait to see what's next. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for putting yourself out there, for being the true you out there at the end of the day, because we need that in this world. And there's real recognizes real, and I recognize you and your vintage rubber hose clown girl are one of the realest people I've been able to meet. So thank you.
I feel like there's a fun irony to saying that someone like me is the most real person you've ever met.
I mean, I said what I said, okay?
No, that means the world to me. Thank you.
Absolutely.
A lot of people ask, like, hey, Bittles, how are you always so optimistic? I have to be. The alternative isn't worth it.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm glad that optimism is there more than anything else, because you deserve it and then some. Now,
sweetheart.
Now, if people want to know exactly why I've been gushing about everything about you this entire hour some odd that we've been recording or whatnot, go ahead, give or take. Go ahead and plug your stuff for the people at home.
So I'm Bittles, the cutest little mobster you ever did see. You can find me at bittlestoon on most forms of social media. Twitter, I'm not calling it X. YouTube, TikTok, Instagram soon. I'm trying to branch out to everything, because this face needs to be seen.
I cannot agree more. And if you missed any links, I got you covered in the description below. Do you have any final words before we sign off?
That's all, folks.
And with that, all I have left to say is, for the people at home, if you can, pay your artists.
Please. They need the food.
Thank you so much for sticking around to the end. If this is your first time listening, I greatly do appreciate it. Like I said in the intro, this was a conversation that was definitely months in the making, so I'm so glad we finally got the opportunity to do this. Bittles, if you've gotten up to this point, sincerely, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to do this. You were an absolute blast to chat with more than anything else. I'm always amazed with the people I get to meet, and Bittles is just another good example of that. I mean, I constantly talk about it on the podcast with the people I really get the opportunity to talk to from all different walks of life, and it really humbles you sometimes, you know? At least it humbles me, knowing that I get to know such incredible people that are absolutely amazing and down to earth more than anything else. It really gives you more or less a grasp on how human people can be, especially in this chaotic interweb nonsense that we see on a day-to-day basis. You'll especially see that with some of the guests I'm going to be bringing on the podcast here in the short term. Some of the episodes that I do got planned, it makes me excited for you guys, because I'm spoiling you guys with some of these guests, and especially some of the opportunities that I've been able to get. I mean, I kind of hinted at it with what was happening at MomoCon, so let's just say some of the fruits of that labor is about to be on full force more than anything else. But regardless, no matter who I get to talk to, no matter who I meet, just know that genuinely I am honored and blessed to know each and every single one of you. Genuinely, I don't know where my life would be without people like you the ones that love and support guests like Bittles, the people that come back here on a weekly basis, or even every once in a while, just give that little subscribe or interact with me in one way or another. It genuinely warms my heart. And it makes me so happy that this is a thing to where I can have a cool community like I do out there. Thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to do this, for allowing me to do this, to continue making stuff like this. I sincerely hope you all are enjoying along the way.